John Keats's Nightingale is a very crucial poem because it depicts the poet's ambivalent state of mind. In my last class, I told you. Actually, John Keats dwells in the space between the world of Nightingale and the world of reality. Sometimes he decides to make a flight to the world of Nightingale. And again, he comes back to the world of reality. Then why does he actually want to stay or want to live? Actually, he wants to stay neither in the world of imagination, nor it's possible for him to live in the world of reality because the reality is really stern and cruel to him. He gets nothing from the real world. He gets only tuberculosis. He gets some cruel deaths of his beloved persons. For example, his father, his mother, his beloved brother, Tom, and his beloved Fanny Brown also deserted him. Besides, he got no recognition as a poet during his lifetime. So he will find a lot of no's, N-O, no. He will find a lot of negative marks, negative signs, or no's in his life. He actually got nothing from his life. So we can't affirm that he wants to live in reality. He's always in ambivalence. He wants to go to the world of imagination or utopia because he thinks that absolute peace and happiness is there. So what is happiness? You know it. At first you have to interpret these terms and terminologies critically. What is happiness? Happiness is a state, the absence of which poisons your existence. If you have no happiness, you will find your life to be poisoned. You will find your existence to be poisoned. So we find that John Keats's life is devoid of happiness. There is no happiness. So he doesn't want to live in real world. He wants to go to the world of Nightingale. But in course of his pondering, in course of his speculation over the world of imagination, he develops a realization that it's not possible for him to live there permanently. Or escaping realities is not a solution to his unhappiness or unhappy state of mind. So he again comes back. He dwells in the world of utopia or in the world of imagination for the time being, but he comes back. He is bound to come back. And the reality does not give him anything attractive. So thus we find that John Keats actually wants to create a third space where he intends to live. So actually John Keats is neither an escapist nor a realist. He is a poet of third space, the space which is located in between the utopia and the real world. And this poem, Ode to a Nightingale, is above the third space where John Keats wants to reside. Actually, this is the world of poetic imagination. This world can be created only by poetic imagination. And John Keats wants to live there. In the first stanza of this poem, John Keats describes the effect of the song of Nightingale on him. That is, how does he feel after hearing the song of Nightingale? Is very nicely, very hypnotizingly incorporated into this first stanza. The poet refers to some mythological elements. That is, we find a lot of allusions here. For example, he alludes to hemlock. It seems he has drained hemlock. And he feels a kind of numbness after hearing the song of Nightingale, as it is equivalent to the effect of taking hemlock. He also refers to Lethe, the river of forgetfulness that flows through the underworld. So it seems he has forgotten all his troubles, all his sorrows, anxieties, and worries of real life after hearing the song of Nightingale. And this very particular state of his mind is interpreted in association with the reference to the river of forgetfulness, that is Lethe. And he has also compared the nightingale with another Greek god of wood, Dryad, the light-winged Dryad, as the nightingale is able to fly from one tree to another tree, from one forest to another forest. Dryad, who was a god of wood, was also able to move from one place to another place within seconds because it had wings. So just think how delicately and how scholarly John Keats has incorporated all these Greek or mythological allusions into this stanza. So we find a kind of intertextuality. Intertextuality means intersectionality. Intersectionality means hybridization. We find a kind of mixture between the time in which John Keats lives and the time of the gods and goddesses of Greek mythology. And here lies the power of John Keats as a poet, that he has brought together two different times with different characteristics and characters have been brought together. And he has showed how one is intertextualized by another. This is really difficult. It's really a difficult job. So writing poem is not an easy task. It's a task which requires a lot of practices, a lot of labor, a lot of time. So just think, in the first stanza, if you read the first stanza very attentively, you will find that John Keats has described the effect of the song of Nightingale upon him in association with some allusions that he has borrowed from Greek mythology. And his love for Greek culture, his fascination for Greek music, art, culture, aesthetics, is known as Hellenism. So we find Hellenic characteristics here in this stanza. And at the end of this stanza, John Keats has told us about the dwelling place of the nightingale. So if you question, what does the nightingale live? The answer is the nightingale lives in the green wood of beech trees. Thousands of beech trees are there. Beech trees are green. The leaves of the trees are green. So it's a very green and eye-catching forest. And this forest is made melodious. This forest is kept ringing with the sweet music of nightingale. So the place where nightingale lives is a melodious place. Okay. Now come to the second stanza that we read in the last class or previous class. In the second stanza, the poet has further described the effect of the song of nightingale upon him, and at the same time, he expresses his desire to make a flight to the world of nightingale. So why? Because the world is full of sorrows and sufferings. The world is full of anxiety, cruelty. So he decided to make a flight to the world of nightingale. Now, how will he go? Will he go on foot? Will he go by bus? We have a question. But John Keats answers to this question. He answers that he will go there with the help of his imagination. And his imagination will be stimulated. His imagination will be invigorated when he will take a draught of vintage. Vintage is a kind of wine. He will also go there and enjoy the beauty of Flora, that is the goddess of flowers. He also desires to enjoy the song of the people of Provence, which is located in the northern part of France. He also wants to enjoy the merriment. He wants to enjoy the merriment of the sunburnt people, that is the farmers. So here, just mind that John Keats is not a poet of the elite people. He is a poet of the working class of people. This is another dimension that we discover here with John Keats. Just think how powerfully he takes his readers to the common people. He might have said that he wanted to enjoy the music, the celebration of the elites of the society. But he doesn't say so. He says that after taking vintage or after taking wine, he will enjoy the music. He will enjoy the celebrations and festivals of the sunburnt people, that is the village people. So village people are called subaltern people, proletariat. They are proletaria, that is common people, ordinary people. And this is one of the major characteristics of romanticism, that love for common people is a romantic element, and we find here in the second stanza. This is the reason, as John Keats is a romantic poet, this is the reason for which he has said that he will enjoy the celebrations and festivals of the common. Yeah, I think this point is to be marked. You have to mark this point. If I ask you, why should we call John Keats a romantic poet? I think this very point is sufficient to establish him to be a romantic poet. So what's this point? The point is that he's a poet of a common people. He's a poet of the village people. He's a poet of the farmers. He has showed his fondness for the mart, for the pageant, for the delight and festivals of the sunburnt farmers. And just think, this very common section of people is brought in association with his references to the sophisticated elements of Greek mythology. For example, Hippocrate, for example, Flora, or for example, Bacchus, the god of wine. So all these sophisticated references have come in association with the common. This is another power of John Keats to bring the common with the uncommon. He has made a bridge between the common and the uncommon. And this is not an easy task. This is undoubtedly a very difficult task that has been accomplished by John Keats. And here lies the power of John Keats as a poet. So I think from this discussion, it's clear that John Keats is a very, very powerful romantic poet. Now let's come to the third stanza.